Officer Colton planted his boot in my doorway and threatened to arrest me while my 7-year-old daughter cried behind me. He thought I was an unemployed nobody. I stayed calm because he had no idea the man he was humiliating prosecute officials who abuse their power. The knock came while I was helping Ava spread peanut butter across 2 pieces of toast. Stay here, sweetheart. Is somebody mad? Probably selling something. I wiped my hands and opened the door. An officer stood on my porch. Julian Mercer? Officer Colton. We need to talk. You Julian Mercer? Yes. Can I help you? We got a noise complaint. I glanced back at the silent living room. Ava's cartoons played low enough that I could hear the refrigerator humming. There must be a mistake. Colton looked past me. You alone in there? My daughter is having breakfast. I asked if you were alone. Then no. His mouth tightened. Let me see some identification. Officer, am I accused of committing crime? I'm investigating a complaint. Don't make this difficult. I'm not. I'm asking why you need my identification. He scanned my faded sweatshirt and worn jeans. You live here? I just answered that. Renting, I assume. Why does that matter? People around here are concerned about suspicious activity. I glanced across the street. Mr. Rourke watched from behind his blinds. He complained twice about my daughter's bicycle touching his grass. Did he call? Colton stepped closer. Maybe you should worry less about who called and more about cooperating. Ava appeared behind me, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Dad, I softened my voice. It's okay. Go finish breakfast. Colton leaned sideways to see her. Your daddy needs to answer a few questions. Please speak to me, not my daughter. He gave a short laugh. Touchy, aren't you? She's 7 and you're frightening her. Then show me your ID so I can leave. You still haven't explained the legal basis for that demand. His eyes narrowed. Legal basis? You watch courtroom shows between unemployment checks. Ava stared at me. Heat climbed into my face, but I kept my hands visible and my voice level. I work, officer. You don't know anything about me. Lower your voice. I'm asking you to lower your voice. This is my normal voice. You came to my home over noise that clearly isn't happening. I've answered your questions. Unless I'm being detained, this conversation is over. Colton planted his boot against the threshold before I could close the door. You don't decide when it's over. Remove your foot. Or what? Or I'll document that you prevented me from closing my door without a warrant, consent, or exigent circumstances. For 1 second, uncertainty crossed his face. Then he smirked. You think using big words makes you important? No, I think the Constitution makes this boundary important. Dad, are you in trouble? Ava whispered. No, sweetheart. I kept my eyes on Colton. I haven't done anything wrong. That attitude could get you detained, he said. For what offense? Obstruction. Disorderly conduct. I'll find something if you keep pushing. His threat worked. Ava's eyes filled with tears. Are you taking my dad away? That depends on whether you learn some respect. I stiffened. Officer Colton, you will not use my child to intimidate me. He removed his boot. Consider this a warning. Next complaint. I won't be so friendly. I want your badge number. He tapped the metal badge. Learn to read. I already did. He walked toward his cruiser, then turned where Mr. Rourke could see him. Get a job, Mercer. Maybe then you'll understand how decent people live. I said nothing. Ava wrapped both arms around my waist as his cruiser pulled away. Why was he mean to you? I closed the door and knelt beside her. Sometimes people make guesses before they know the truth. What truth? I looked through the window at the disappearing cruiser. That everyone answers for the choices they make. Colton thought he had humiliated an unemployed single father. He had no idea I spent my days prosecuting federal officials who abused their power. After Ava fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with Officer Colton's badge number written on a grocery receipt. My phone rang. Sophia's name filled the screen. You ignored 3 calls, she said. What happened? A police officer came to my house. Why? Noise complaint. There was no noise. And I stared at the receipt. He demanded identification. put his foot inside my doorway, threatened to invent charges, and frightened Ava. Silence followed. Give me his name. Sophia. His name, Julian. Officer Daniel Colton. Badge number? I read it aloud. I'll call you back. Don't start anything. He threatened the United States attorney inside his own home. He threatened a father in front of his daughter. That's the part that matters. Exactly. So why are you hesitating? I looked toward Ava's bedroom because she already lost her mother. She doesn't need reporters outside our house or strangers digging through our lives. Sophia's voice softened. What did Ava say? She asked if he was taking me away. Then letting this go won't protect her. Her words pull me backward 5 years to the hospital room where Claire had squeezed my hand between painful breaths. Promise me something, she had whispered. Anything. Don't let the job consume you. Ava needs her father more than the government needs another prosecutor. You're going home with us. Julian, promise me. I promise. Claire died that night. 3 months later, I was nominated to lead the district's federal prosecutors. I nearly refused. Before Claire became ill, I had prosecuted trafficking rings, contractors, and officials who believed their badges made them untouchable. She understood why the work mattered. You never chase headlines, she said. I chase evidence. And when evidence points toward someone powerful, I follow it. That answer is why they'll ask you to lead someday. I don't want that chair. Good. The people who hunger for power are the last people who should have it. Sophia confronted me then. 2. Claire believed in your work, she told me. Taking care of Ava doesn't mean abandoning who you are. This office will take every hour I give it. Then don't give it every hour. Give it your judgment. I accepted the appointment, but kept my title away from home. To my neighbors, I was Julian, the quiet widower who left early, returned late, and attended every school meeting. My phone rang again. Tell me you found nothing. I said, I found 11 civilian complaints against Colton in 4 years. 11? 6 for intimidation, 3 for unlawful searches, 2 for threatening arrest without cause. Every complaint was closed internally. Any bodycam footage? Several recordings were marked unavailable. 2 files were supposedly corrupted. Supposedly, the failure reports use identical language, even though they were written months apart. I stood and walked a window. Mr. Rourke's house was dark. Who reviewed the complaints? Captain Briggs approved every closure. That sounds coordinated. Now you understand why I'm not letting this disappear. We cannot use my office to settle a personal grievance. This stopped being personal when the records showed a pattern. We still need jurisdiction and evidence. Then begin with what happened today. I heard Claire's final request in my memory, but I also saw Ava's terrified face. Draft a preservation letter. I said, for Colton's bodycam, dispatch audio, complaint records, vehicle location data, and every internal review bearing Briggs' signature. Official request? Not yet. Send it through my private attorney. I want the footage before anyone realizes who I am. And if they erase it, then destruction becomes evidence. Sophia exhaled. I knew you wouldn't walk away. I'm not seeking revenge. What are you seeking? I folded the receipt and placed it beside Claire's photograph. The truth, and proof that Colton has done this before. The next morning, my request entered the police department quietly. By noon, someone inside the department had tried to block it. By 9 Monday morning, Sophia had secured access to Colton's complete disciplinary history through our Civil Rights Division. She closed my office door and placed a red folder on my desk. The search was narrow, lawful, and invisible outside our office. I had authorized investigations, but this felt different. Colton had stood near Ava. That made every decision personal. So I had to become careful. Officially, you haven't opened this, she said. Officially, neither have you. That won't comfort the Inspector General. Did we obtain it legally? Yes. The federal database flagged related complaints from joint investigations. I limited the search to records already within our authority. Then show me. She opened the folder. First complaint, racial profiling. Colton stopped a black college professor outside his own house and searched his vehicle without consent. Finding: unsubstantiated. Next, a Latino nurse was detained for 40 minutes because Colton claimed his hospital identification looked fake. Bodycam activated after the detention began. Finding: procedural counseling. No discipline. My jaw tightened. What did Briggs sign? The final reviews. But Captain Elena Ruiz ordered the cases classified as service complaints instead of misconduct allegations. Why? Service complaints don't damage precinct performance numbers. An excessive force case? Sophia hesitated. Tell me. Colton pulled a 19-year-old passenger from a car during a traffic stop. The boy suffered a fractured wrist and 2 broken ribs. What justified the force? Colton wrote that he resisted. Did he? A nearby store camera showed both hands raised before Colton grabbed him. How was that buried? Ruiz called the footage inconclusive. Briggs approved her recommendation. The family accepted a confidential settlement. I pushed the folder away. How many people knew? Enough to hide it. Arrange a private meeting with Ruiz. Don't use my title. Sophia frowned. She'll recognize your name. Book it under the complaint request from my attorney. That afternoon, I entered the precinct in the same faded jacket Colton had mocked. While I waited outside Ruiz's office, laughter drifted from the report room. The precinct smelled of coffee and floor cleaner. Officers passed without a second glance. Seeing a father carrying a complaint, I welcomed their indifference. Anonymity gave me time to listen and discover what changed when nobody feared my title. Colton's voice carried through the open door. Guy tried quoting the Constitution, like he was somebody important. Another officer laughed. Did you arrest him? Nah, his kid started crying, so I let him keep what was left of his dignity. Generous of you. These neighborhood freeloaders need reminders. You give them an inch, they think they own the street. I recorded every word on my phone. Ruiz opened her door. Mr. Mercer? Yes. Come inside. Her office walls displayed awards for reducing complaints and improving community trust. I reviewed your statement, she said. Officer Colton responded to a legitimate call. A false complaint doesn't justify entering my doorway. His report says his foot crossed the threshold accidentally. His body cam will show otherwise. The camera malfunctioned. Before or after he threatened to invent charges? Ruiz leaned back. You may have misunderstood his attempt to explain possible consequences. 11 other civilians misunderstood him too. Her expression changed. Those files are confidential. Their injuries weren't. I don't know where you obtained that information, but repeating unsupported accusations could create legal problems for you. Is that a warning? It's friendly advice. Colton is a decorated officer. One angry resident won't destroy his career. I'm not asking you to destroy it. I'm asking you to preserve evidence and investigate honestly. This meeting is over. I stood. Captain, when did you learn his body cam had malfunctioned? This morning. Interesting. The preservation request reached your department yesterday. Her face went still. Who are you? She asked. I opened the door. The resident you decided wouldn't matter. Outside. Colton laughed again, unaware that his own captain had just confirmed my first evidence of a cover-up. Ruiz called before I reached the precinct parking lot. Mr. Mercer, return to my office immediately. Is this another friendly warning? We need to clarify several things. I'll be there in 10 minutes. When I returned, Sophia waited beside Ruiz's desk with 2 federal investigators. The awards on the wall looked less convincing now. Ruiz stared at Sophia's credentials. You arranged this? I requested a private conversation. I said, you chose to dismiss it. Who exactly are you? I placed my identification on her desk. Julian Mercer, Assistant United States Attorney. I oversee civil rights and police conduct cases throughout this district. The color drained from her face. You should have disclosed that earlier. Why? Would your account have changed? I would have included counsel. You may call counsel now. This interview is voluntary. Ruiz glanced at the investigators. Am I under investigation? We're determining why evidence connected to 11 complaints was concealed, mislabeled, corrupted, or deleted. Those were administrative decisions. Then explaining them should be easy. She reached for her phone. Before you call, I said, bring Officer Colton here. Why? He deserves to hear what his decisions created. Ruiz pressed the intercom. Send Colton to my office. 2 minutes later, Colton entered without knocking. Captain, if this is about that complaint, the guy's wasting everyone's. He saw me. His smile vanished. I let the silence settle. I had confronted powerful officials before, but this felt different. Colton's fear brought no satisfaction. I only remembered Ava asking whether he would take me away. You, he said, Officer Colton, what are you doing here? Ruiz answered before I could. Mr. Mercer is a federal prosecutor. Colton looked at my identification, then at the investigators. This is some kind of setup. Did I make you into my doorway? I asked. My foot slipped. Did I make you threaten to invent charges? I explained your options. Did I make you tell your colleagues that you left me with no dignity? His eyes shifted toward Ruiz. I played the recording from a hallway. His own voice filled the office. These neighborhood freeloaders need reminders. You recorded a private conversation, he said. You spoke beside an open door in a public police station. Ruiz stood. Officer, stop talking. No, I said calmly. Let him answer. Colton's hand moved toward his badge. You're abusing federal authority because I embarrassed you. My embarrassment isn't evidence. Your conduct is. Sophia placed photographs on the desk. I pointed to the first. Professor Marcus Hill, searched outside his home without consent. He acted suspiciously. Daniel Ortega, detained because you rejected valid hospital identification. I followed procedure. I placed the last photograph down. 19-year-old Caleb Moore, fractured wrist, 2 broken ribs. He resisted. The store footage shows his hands raised. The angle was unclear. 3 angles were recovered from the original evidence server this morning. Ruiz gripped the edge of her desk. Recovered, she whispered. Deleting a department copy doesn't erase the federal backup created during the settlement review. Colton turned toward her. You said that footage was gone. I said stop talking. You promised those complaints were closed. The room became silent. I watched panic replace Colton's arrogance as he understood what he had admitted. Captain Ruiz, I said, did you promise Officer Colton protection? I want counsel. That is your right. Colton stepped toward me. You planned this because of one argument at your house. No, you brought 11 buried cases to my doorstep. What happens to me now? I slid a preservation order across the desk. Your department will surrender every complaint, recording, message, and review connected to your conduct. Any deletion from this moment forward may constitute obstruction. He stared at the paper. You can't take my badge. Only your department can suspend you today. A court will decide what happens after that. Ruiz lowered herself into her chair. What do you want? She asked. The truth. And if we cooperate? Cooperation doesn't erase what happened. It only proves you finally stop hiding it. Colton touched his badge again, but this time his hand trembled. On my doorstep, he had seen a powerless father. Now he understood that his badge rested on every fact I could prove. By sunrise, Colton's suspension filled every local broadcast. Sophia entered my office carrying coffee and 3 newspapers. Internal Affairs opened a formal investigation, she said. Colton surrendered his badge at 6. And Ruiz? Administrative leave. She asked to speak with you. I turned toward the television. A reporter stood outside my building. Questions now surround Assistant U.S. Attorney Julian Mercer, whose personal encounter triggered the federal inquiry. Another commentator appeared. Did Mercer use public authority to punish an officer who insulted him? Sophia muted the screen. Sophia placed the newspapers before me. One headline called me a widower seeking revenge. Another quoted the police union president. Officer Colton deserves due process, not persecution by an official. He does deserve due process, I said. Did Professor Hill? He deserved it. What about Ortega and Moore? They all did. That is why we continue. They're turning you into the suspect. They're asking a fair question. No, they're protecting access to the department. My decisions must survive scrutiny too. They will. Before I could answer a call, Ava's school called. Dad, kids are saying you got a policeman fired. He's suspended while investigators examine what happened. Did you do something bad? No. Then why are people angry? Because truth can threaten people before it protects. Are you coming home tonight? Before dinner. Promise? I promise. My desk phone rang. Julian Mercer. This is Margaret Colton. I straightened. How can I help you? My husband came home last night blaming you. I need you to hear what happened afterward. Mrs. Colton, you should contact investigators. I did. They asked whether I would release our doorbell recording. I said yes. Sophia opened her laptop as the file arrived. Margaret's voice played first. Daniel, our daughter saw your face on television. Turn it off. She asked why Daddy hurts people. The media is lying. Is the video lying? You don't understand police work. I understand a 19-year-old had his hands raised. Ruiz cleared me. Because you deserved it, or because she protected you? Whose side are you on? Our children's. What happens when they learn you threaten a little girl's father? Colton's voice lowered. He made me look stupid. No, Daniel, you did that yourself. The recording ended with a door closing. Margaret remained on the line. I'm taking the children to my sister's, she said. I'm not asking you to spare him. What are you asking? Remember that consequences reach innocent people too. I will. After she disconnected, Sophia watched me quietly. Still certain? She asked. Certain about the evidence. Not untouched by the cost. Ruiz arrived an hour later. Without her uniform, she placed a sealed envelope before me. My attorney advised silence, she said. That is your right. Silence is what created this. I opened the envelope. Inside were printed messages between Ruiz, Briggs, and Colton. What am I reading? Instructions to delay complaints, change classifications, and delete review copies. Why bring them now? Because I spent 6 years protecting precinct numbers while telling myself I was protecting good officers. Were you? No. I taught bad officers that consequences were negotiable. Sophia leaned forward. Will you testify? Ruiz swallowed. Yes. Against Colton and Briggs? Against anyone the evidence identifies, including me. I closed the envelope. Integrity now won't erase your choices. I know, but it may prevent another victim. She nodded. That's all I've left to offer. My phone flashed with another headline. Federal prosecutor's personal vendetta? This will get worse, Sophia warned. Then we released a timeline to Ethics Council and request independent supervision. You're giving up control? I'm removing doubt. And if they remove you from the case, the evidence remains. I thought of Ava, Margaret's children, and every family silenced by a closed complaint. Colton had mistaken restraint for weakness. I would not answer by abusing power. I would answer by making the truth stronger than either of us. 6 weeks later, Sophia entered my office holding a single sheet of paper. The department terminated Colton this morning. I set down my pen. For my complaint? For sustained misconduct in 7 cases, dishonesty during review, unlawful searches, excessive force, and retaliation. And the criminal investigation? The grand jury returned indictments against Colton and Briggs. Ruiz accepted a plea agreement and will testify. What charges? Civil rights violations, falsifying records, conspiracy, and obstruction. I leaned back, but relief did not come easily. What about the 4 complaints they couldn't sustain? Independent investigators are reviewing them. Keep those victims informed. Nobody learns about their own case from television. Sophia smiled faintly. You know you're no longer supervising this prosecution. I know. Ethics Council cleared you, Julian. Clearance doesn't make those people my evidence. They're citizens who were ignored. I already arranged meetings. That afternoon, Professor Hill, Daniel Ortega, and Kayla Moore sat across from me in a federal conference room. Independent prosecutor Naomi Grant joined us. Caleb stared at the table. Why did anyone believe me this time? Because the store kept backup footage. I said, that's not what I asked. I understood his anger. They should have believed the evidence the first time. The system failed you. Professor Hill folded his hands. Would this investigation exist if Colton hadn't approached your house? I don't know. That's an honest answer. It's also a painful one. Ortega looked toward Naomi. Do we testify? She nodded. If you choose. Your testimony can establish the pattern, but nobody will force you. Caleb raised his eyes. Will Colton see us in court? Yes, Naomi said. Then I'll testify. Professor Hill nodded. So will I. Ortega took a breath. Me too. I slid 3 victim rights packets across the table. These explain counseling, case updates, travel support, and how to contact Naomi's team directly. Caleb touched the packet. What do you get from this? Nothing. You got justice. Justice isn't mine if it stops at my doorstep. Professor Hill studied me. Then make sure they hear every name. They will. Months later, I sat behind Naomi as Colton entered his plea in federal court. He admitted falsifying reports and violating Caleb's civil rights. Briggs pleaded guilty to obstruction. Ruiz testified publicly about the complaint she had buried. Outside the courthouse, reporters crowded around me. Mr. Mercer, do you feel vindicated? This case was never about my pride. Did your position determine the outcome? My position opened a door that should have opened for every victim. What changes now? Independent bodycam storage, external complaint review, and mandatory reporting to federal monitors. Is that enough? No reform is enough unless people enforce it. I left before anyone could turn justice into celebration. At home, Ava sat on our front step with her stuffed rabbit beside her. You're late, she said. By 4 minutes. I counted. I sat beside her. Did the bad policeman go to jail? He admitted what he did. A judge will decide his sentence. Sophia said you help people. I glanced at Claire's photograph visible through the window. She would have wanted me to. Ava leaned against my shoulder. Are you a hero? No, but you won. I had power, sweetheart. Winning meant using it for people who had none, not using it to feel important. Does having power sometimes make people bad? Only if they forget why they were trusted with it first. That sounds like a hero. It sounds like responsibility. She considered that, then held out her rabbit. He thinks you're a hero too. I laughed and accepted the rabbit. The porch was quiet. No cruiser waited at the curb. No boot blocked our doorway. Ava's hand rested safely in mine. The same doorstep where Colton had tried to make me feel powerless belonged to us again. Justice had not arrived with shouting. It had arrived through truth, patience, and voices finally heard.